Hello everyone. I've been studying about the shadow and the mask from Carl Jung philosophy. So in this video, I will talk to you more about how do we live and rise by facing the shadow instead of avoiding it. Why people hide their shadow, how to help them to uncover the truth that they try to hide. To speak of the shadow in the language of Carl Jung is to step into a part of human soul that is both deeply fear and profoundly sacred. The shadow is not merely darkness, nor it is evil in the simple moral sense. It is everything within us that we refuse to see, refuse to accept, or refuse to love. It is the hidden half of our being, the part that waits patiently in silence, not to destroy us, but to make us whole. Jung once suggested that one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. This is a great paradox of human growth. We do not rise by escaping our darkness, but by entering it. What is the shadow? The shadow is formed in early life. As children, we quickly learn what is acceptable and what is not. We learn which emotions bring love and which bring rejection. A child who is told, "Don't be angry," may bury anger deep inside. A child who is punished for speaking up may hide her voice. Over time, these rejected parts do not disappear, they simply move into the unconscious. The shadow, then, is not made just of negative qualities like jealousy, greed, or rage. It also contains positive traits that were suppressed: creativity, strength, independence, even brilliance. Many people hide their light just as much as their darkness. So the shadow is not the enemy, it is unlived light within us. Why do people hide their shadow? People hide their shadow because it threatens their identity. We are built a persona, a mask we show to the world. This persona is carefully constructed to gain approval, love, and belonging. But the shadow stands in opposition to that image. If you see yourself as kind, your shadow may hold anger. If you see yourself as strong, your shadow may contain vulnerability. To face the shadow is to risk losing the image you have worked so hard to maintain. There is also fear, deep primal fear. If I truly see what is inside me, will I still be worthy or loved? Will others reject me? Will I reject myself? So people hide, they deny, they project. Projection is one of the most common ways the shadow reveals itself. The traits we cannot accept in ourselves, we often see in others. The person who denies their own anger may constantly accuse others of being hostile. The one who represses ambition may criticize others as greedy. In this way, the shadow does not disappear, it simply moves outward, shaping how we see the world. The cost of avoiding the shadow. Avoiding the shadow comes at a high price. First, it fragments the self. When we reject parts of who we are, we become divided. There is a person we pretend to be, a person we truly are. This creates inner tension, anxiety, and a sense of emptiness. Second, the shadow gains power in the dark. What is unconscious controls us more than what is conscious. Suppressed anger may erupt in unexpected way. Hidden fears may shape our decisions without us realizing it. Third, we lose authenticity. A life built on avoidance is a life lived on the surface. It might look successful from the outside, but inside there is a quiet dissatisfaction, a feeling that something essential is missing. Facing the shadow, the path to rising. To face a shadow is not an act of judgment, but of courage and compassion. The first step is awareness. This requires honest self-reflection. Notice your emotional reactions. When something triggers a strong response, anger, jealousy, defensiveness, ask yourself, what is it showing me about myself? Instead of saying, they are the problem, gently ask, what part of me is being reflected here? The second step is acceptance. This does not mean acting out destructive behaviors. It means acknowledging what these tendencies exist within you. You can say, yes, I have anger, without becoming an angry person. You can say, yes, I feel envy, without letting it define you. Acceptance softens the inner conflict. What we resist persists, but what we accept begins to transform. Anger, for example, can become clarity and boundaries. Fear can become awareness and preparation. Even selfishness can become self-respect. The shadow contains energy. When integrated, that energy becomes strength. How do we help others uncover their shadow? You cannot force someone to face their shadow. It is deeply personal journey, and it often begins only when a person is ready. However, you can create the conditions for truth to emerge. First, offer non-judgment. People hide their shadow because they fear rejection. When they feel safe, truly safe, they are more willing to be honest. Second, lead by example. When you are willing to acknowledge your own imperfections, you give others permission to do the same. There is a quiet power in saying, I struggle too. Third, ask gentle questions, not accusation, but invitations. What do you think is really behind that feelings? Or what part of this is hard for you to look at? These questions open doors without forcing them. Fourth, be patient. The shadow has often been hidden for years, even decades. It will not reveal itself all at once. Growth is not a sudden awakening. It is gradual unfolding. The gift hidden in the shadow. At first, the shadow appears as something to be feared, but in truth, it is the gateway. When you face your shadow, you reclaim lost parts of yourself. You become more whole, more grounded, more real. You no longer need to pretend because you are no longer divided. There is also a deep sense of freedom. When you accept your own darkness, you become less judgmental of others, compassion naturally arises. You begin to see that everyone is carrying their own hidden struggles. And perhaps most importantly, you discover that the shadow is not separate from the light. They are two sides of the same reality. The same fire that can destroy can also illuminate. The same depth that holds pain can also hold wisdom. Rising through the shadow. To rise through the shadow is not to eliminate it, but to walk with it. It is to say, I see you, I acknowledge you, and I will not tell you, control me from the dark. This is the path of inner mastery. It is not easy. It requires honesty, humility, and courage, but it leads to something far greater than perfection. It leads to wholeness, and in that wholeness there is a quiet, steady peace, not the fragile peace of avoidance, but the unshakable peace of self-acceptance. In the end, the shadow is not your enemy, it is your teacher, waiting patiently for you to turn and face it. And when you do, you will find that what you fear was never meant to destroy you, but to awaken you. Thank you so much, and I hope you like.